Alan, I want to be friends with you for the rest of my life.
All right.
Does that line sound familiar to you?
Oh, that's what Liza says.
It's
yeah,
the
that's
first
right.
thing that Liza Minnelli said to you when she met you.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that a lot of people feel that when they first encounter you.
Oh, that's nice.
You come across in every forum in which I've ever seen you, stage, screen, and in person, as just one of the most likable people. And I guess we're going to find out today if that's just a great act or if it's a... Congratulations on your new book.
Thank you very much.
You can see the cover right here. You got to get bigger dreams. My life in stories and pictures.
Thank you.
And I love that you have stories about people like Liza and everyone from Iman to Cyndi Lauper to...
My dog.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Oh. You've got your fabulous Hollywood life. And then you also have so many just like travelogue pictures. And Honey, who is the dog...
That's her,
the
cover star.
Is probably the secondary character to you in this series of essays. And I just fell in love with her as much as I fell in love with you.
Yeah, the book's kind of a love letter to her, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's sadly no longer with us, so it was a kind of a little, I know. So I talk about that as well, of course.
Well, it was wonderful to kind of get to know both the private side of you and the public side of you through these stories. Do you have a favorite of the essays that you wrote for this anthology?
Gosh, well, I suppose I really like the Gore Vidal story. And it's sort of because it's a bit more brutal and a bit more in depth, and it's a bit more sort of adult in terms of like, I just think the idea that someone could go through their life and say they'd never loved, and then for me to say, I don't believe you, Gore Vidal. I like that piece of writing. But I mean, there's other stories I love. Like I like the travelogue with Honey very much, and the one I wrote about my ex-boyfriend who was running a marathon, and I thought he was insane, and it's all like Honey's in that as well. So yeah, I mean, it was about a picture I took of him naked when he came back from training for a marathon, and I was always running around trying to get him with no clothes on, and I take a picture of him running away from me, and you just see his bum, and there's a stone statue of a dog, and a funny sign that I stole from a hillside in Italy, because it looks like it's saying "Beware men picking up poop." That's what the drawing looks like.
The pictures in this book really are as impressive as the stories.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do it justice with just the cover.
No.
So we'll tweet out a bunch of pictures.
All right.
From the title. I think it's great that you chose those two stories, because I think of you as a study in contrasts. You have these very serious kind of academic pieces of writing, and then you also have very light, fun insights into the part of you that I think people reference a lot about you, this puckish kind of...
Yeah.
What is your your Twitter
my Twitter thing is Scottish elf trapped inside middle-aged man's body.
Right. But that's not the only contrast. You're also like you've been awarded the Order of the British Empire, which seems very high class, but then you're also like a club kid who likes to go sing show tunes at Marie's Crisis, which is a piano bar.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. You want to go there? You open the door. Tell me a story.
A section in the book called After Dark, and it's all photos I've taken in various bars or clubs around the world, you know, after dark. And so I just, you know, I enjoy. It was just on Fire Island for the weekend. I suddenly was in this, it was musical or show tune Sundays in the Pines in Fire Island, and I was just having a laugh, hanging around with some people, and then this drag queen said to me, "We're doing the cell block tango, and you're aha." And I seriously didn't know what that meant, but I quickly grasped the concept. And so there I'm like miming to Russian in a room full of people, and you know, completely drunk. So I really do enjoy, I think I've got a sort of an inherent Scottish, I think, trait of understanding how important it is to let go, and sort of the bacchanalian quality that I think I've got it in check, but I think it's really important to my personality and to my existence, because I think it's really important to be able to have fun and let go, especially if you live a kind of, you know, quite intense life like I do.
Right. Well, I do want to just quickly, as sort of a sidebar, mention your previous book, Not My Father's Son,
Yeah.
which has a little bit of lightness in it, but is really a quite a dark story and beautifully told, incredibly moving.
Thank you.
And
It's about my dad. It's about my very abusive father, and then who told me I wasn't his biological son. The night before I started filming that Who Do You Think You Are show for the BBC, and I found out that my grandfather died playing Russian roulette in Malaysia. So it was kind of crazy. I discovered I have mental illness on both sides of my family, which is something to look forward to as I, get older. And so this book, in a way, this new book is kind of sort of an antidote to the experience of the last one, and to sort of show a bit more of the lighter side of my life, both for the reader and for me in the writing of it.
well, this one, like the other, goes back and has some allusions to your childhood, including the first photographs you ever took with a camera that was given to you as was it the prize in a raffle?
Yeah, I won it in a raffle in Tombola.
And you were working on your family's, was it sort of a farm?
I was actually cutting the grass around our massive amounts of acres of grass around our house, and a man came in a car and just came out and he said, and I was like 10 or something, and he went, "Do you know an Alan Cumming?" And I was really shocked. I thought it was some sort of test. I didn't quite understand what was going on. And I was like, "What?" And he went, "Do you know an Alan Cumming?" And I was so nervous and scared that I said, "I am he," like that. And so then he gave me this camera that I'd won in this raffle, and it was all in a plastic box and a plastic camera. And
How big was it?
Oh, well, the actual camera was just a little Instamatic one about this size, but the box was bigger, and it was all presented in a really glamorous way, it seemed to me, aged 10. And then I took some pictures, but I was really bad at framing. So, and of course, in those days, you had to wait and get the pictures back from the drugstore. And my framing was, I print 3 of them in the book. Like, everyone's away to the left. Like, my first person was my granny, and I thought she was in the center of the sort of rose garden. She was over here, and then my mum and dad. My dad's kind of actually cut out of the picture, which was very, interesting that I did that. And then there's these sheep that I took. We had sheep in a field, and I took their away over here. There's this massive dry stone wall for no reason. So I wasn't allowed to take, because it was so expensive to get all the photos developed, I wasn't allowed to take any more photos. So this camera, I sort of fetishized that one day I'd be able to, take my own photos and take pictures of what I wanted, even if I did frame them badly. And I think actually I've done that, because there's quite a lot of really bad photos in my book, but they capture a moment, and I'm more interested in, in a way, this is a series of snapshots of my life, literally as well as figuratively. So I've put in some pictures that don't print up terribly well, but I think they really capture an essence and a moment.
I want to encourage you to not refer to them as bad pictures anymore.
Okay, I won't.
Because some of them are out of focus, and some of them are, accident. There's a great photo of your shoes that you took by accident at a fashion show.
I was trying to take a girl's bum.
Which, by the way, bums and shoes, feet, are like the two big.
I know, I noticed that.
Big concepts.
When I saw
so many shoes in this book.
I've obviously got a foot fetish. So I didn't realize that. When I saw the book all laid out, there was this like endless shoes and endless ass, which I think is a pretty good combo for life. You know what I mean? If you're gonna.
Speaking of shoes, I was very excited to see that you walked in wearing your favorite brand of footwear.
Crocs, ladies and gentlemen, check them out. Crocs.
These Crocs are much more
close-up.
traditionally attractive than the original Crocs.
Yes.
But what the book actually, I don't know if it actually opens with or just one of the early stories,
early on.
is a very funny story about high culture meets Crocs.
You see, I'm really intrigued by the notion that everyone, Crocs are now evolving, and they've got these. Actually, last week I was in a meeting in Los Angeles, and this hoity-toity lady said to me, "Oh, Alan, I love your shoes. Are they Prada?" And I went, "No, they're Crocs." Drop the mic. And I think it's just really interesting how, as a culture, we love it when we're allowed to hate something. I think it's Donald Trump's rise to power could be attributed to that. But when we're given an excuse to kind of all get together and say something's horrible, we all do it in a rather sheep-like manner. So I've always liked Crocs, and I couldn't understand why people were so mean about them. And so I always think, when I say I'm wearing Crocs and these, I always say to people, rethink your prejudice. because it's a dangerous trend, I think. So what happened was I was making a film in Hawaii with Helen Mirren, and I was wearing my Crocs, and one time we were having a drink in a bar, and she went, "Those shoes are so ugly, Alan," and I was like, "Oh," and I said. I said, well, sometimes I think what people are wearing is ugly, but I use my inside voice. and she went, I see your point, but they're still ugly. I was like, oh. Let's move on, Helen. And then, so then about 3 weeks later, I was on a gap from the film, and I came back, and we were always on these sort of volcanic beaches, all rocky, because it was for this film, The Tempest. It's all set on an island, so we're always on rocky ground. And Helen came running round the corner of the makeup bus, and she's like, Alan. And I thought she was just glad to see me again. And she was like, I was wearing my flip-flops, and they were really hurting my feet, and now look. And she had a pair of pink Crocs on. And she's like, and now I have 3 pairs, the most comfortable things ever. I was like...
A convert.
Won her over from the dark side.
All right, so I'm going to take the reference to The Tempest and use it to seg into some of your Shakespeare work.
Okay.
I saw you in Macbeth on Broadway, and I've seen Macbeth probably 12, 15 times, and it was the most brilliant, innovative production I have ever seen.
Oh, thanks, Laura. Thank you.
Can you explain about what was different about that production?
Well, what happened was, it was sort of like this. So there was me, and there was 2 other people, a man and a woman, Jenny and Brendan, were their names. But they played so it was like a kind of a weird hospital set with an observation room. And I was this person who was brought in before any speaking occurred, and I was undressed, and they took things out of my fingernails, and obviously something very traumatic had happened to me. I had these scars on my neck. And then I was left in this room, and for whatever reason, I then started to do the entire play of Macbeth, and there were these video monitors that were kind of like, became involved in the story, and they were like, observing me, and occasionally the doctor and the nurse would come in and kind of sedate me, or, So it was this version of Macbeth that someone who was in an institution was doing, and you gradually realized that there was a reason why he was doing it, to exercise something that happened to him. And it was the most challenging, traumatic thing I've ever done, because it involved him killing his children. And I nearly died actually doing it. I mean, seriously, I nearly died. It was so intense.
It was intense just watching it. I can't imagine having to do it 8 times a week.
I only did 6. Didn't have to do matinees.
Oh, well, in that case.
Because I did it in Scotland, and I did some matinees. I was like, that's not happening. But what was really amazing, the most incredible thing about it was, when we did it in Scotland, before Broadway, the stage was on the flat, and then the audience were raked up like that. So the bit when you thought I was drowning, there was a bit when you really did think I was drowning. And I could feel people want to get out of their seats and come and get me out of that bath. It was palpable. And people said that they were people would scream, and it was an incredible moment. And I felt, that was nearly the end of the play, and it was actually, for me, the most relaxing part of the entire thing. Because it was a trick. I wasn't really drowning. But just to have affected people in that way, was so powerful and amazing. But it was really, I wouldn't recommend doing that production to anyone ever again.
There are very few plays that I've seen where they are so good that I can never see them again, because it was so palpable and so disturbing.
Yeah. When I played all the parts as well,
every single line in Macbeth.
Apart from the
just about. And of course, we have to talk about Cabaret.
Yes. Thank you.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, but you performed it in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s?
Oh my God, yes. But when I did it in my... Oh my God, that's right. No, I never performed it in my 40s. Oh, I did. Yes, you're absolutely right.
You did this most recent run. It happened when you were 49 and then when you were 50.
50s, that's 40s and 50s. And I was 30-something when I did it 16 years before. And I did it in London when I was in my 20s. Holy shit. I just can't quit you, Cabaret.
Well, after you turn 60, we'll bring you back for like a one-night-only benefit performance.
No, I said if they do it again, I'm going to play Fräulein Schneider. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, look, Joel Grey still performs, the MC's numbers in benefit concerts.
I don't like that. Willkommen when you're playing. When it's like every time I'm asked to go to a gala or host something, everyone goes, "Wouldn't it be a great idea if you opened the show by singing Willkommen?" And I go, "Wouldn't it be a great idea if I stuck pins in my eyes?" Because I've never sung it. I sang it once at the Carnegie Hall in the New York Pops for a tribute thing to Rob Marshall, who was one of the directors, the choreographer as well of Cabaret, and that was the only time I would ever do it. I just think I don't want to do my old, you know what I mean? I always want to I do sing a song from Cabaret sometimes when I do concerts, but it's not one that I sang. I do Mine Hair.
Well, your hair is fantastic.
Mine Hair, thank you very much.
See what I did there?
Like-
The concert that you performed at Carnegie Hall a few months ago, you're still touring with, right? Alan Cumming sings sappy songs?
Yes, I'm still touring that. It's like an old-fashioned sort of cabaret. I sing songs, I tell stories, I have a little band, and it's got a kind of a structure to it and a shape, and I really love it. You know, I've got to really love this way of performing, and the way you connect with an audience when you're being yourself rather than a character. It's really amazing, and I did another one called I Bought a Blue Car Today a few years ago, and I think I've got much better at it. And so this one's been touring all over the world, actually. And we've got some more dates from between now and next April in America, all over the place. So alancumming.com/events will lead you to those.
Which also has your book signings.
I've got my book signings too, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, good point. Yeah, I'm sort of doing double dipping. A lot of the places I go on tour with my show, I do book events too.
What is your favorite song to sing right now?
I think there's a French song called Complainte de la Butte that I sing. It's a song about a man talking about a prostitute, and I sing it in French. And I don't know, I really just I love that song for some reason.
He also does in this concert, I don't know if you've removed it or changed it since I saw the Sappy Songs show, but he does this incredibly heartfelt and dramatic version of Miley Cyrus's The Climb.
That's still in, absolutely, yeah.
Which brought tears to my eyes.
Isn't that, well, see, that's exactly what I want to do. I mean, I actually, one of the reasons, you know, in the same way as like Rethink Your Prejudices about Crocs, I want people to rethink their preconceived notions about songs. Like I start doing the Miley Cyrus, you can almost see it, and I see people going, "Oh my God, he's doing Miley Cyrus," and then I really commit to the song, and it's a beautiful song. It's about a really great. When you think about it, it's about. It's about, you know, what's important is the journey, not the destination. That's kind of the message of the song, which is a beautiful thing, and it's lovely to hear that message again. And I actually am really interested in. There's another one I sing, like an Avril Lavigne song. I sing a Lady Gaga song. I think it's really important to challenge people on their sort of, you know, received opinions about things rather than listening to them with your gut and your heart.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job of that across your whole career. And we only have a few minutes left. We're going to take some questions from the audience.
Okay.
But we haven't even talked about all of the movie and TV work that you've done. I was trying to go through my head, just trying to name off as many as I could from memory. And
I'm very old.
you're incredibly prolific.
I'm prolific and old.
And you've done such a brilliant mix of indie and commercial, and things that are very kind of disturbing, and things that are super pop culture, like you know, like the Spice Girls movie, and but then you did Eyes Wide Shut, and
back to back,
you know,
actually. I
and
did those two
then,
films back to back.
And you seem to both have the ability to access a very serious, dark side of yourself, but also this incredible lightness.
Yeah, I think I think I do have that, and I think it's really important, you know, certainly for me as a human being as well as an actor. I have access to great pain and great darkness, but also I want to live in the light, and I want to have joy in my life. And so I think in my work as well, I reflect that. I don't want to do poppy nonsense all the time, but at times I want to have fun and not just do, you know, bleak things and nearly drowning in a Shakespeare play. So I think it's really important to sort of curate your own life in that way, and to ensure that you have a center that you feel comfortable with, but at the same time access to both sides of everything. And you know, that applies in many ways to my life, actually.
Again, it brings me back to what I said before about you being a study in contrasts, and you seem, in a way that's very inspiring to me, willing to let yourself go to extremes.
Yeah, I think that's healthy, you know. I think it's kind of like the Bacchanalia thing. I think it's important to understand letting go and understand pushing yourself and understand keeping your heart open to new things.
I want to go back to the book really quickly.
Please.
This is another point at which you become two sides of the same coin. You have stories about being kind of chased down for photos of you, but you also play the paparazzo in certain cases, taking photos of celebrities. Would you quickly tell the story that the title is based on?
Oh, so my friend Eddie is obsessed with Oprah Winfrey. And
in the book, he goes, I don't even know why I bothered to write Winfrey, because there's, and my favorite line in the entire book is when you go, there were even two Madonnas, but there's only ever been one right. Oprah.
That's so true, yes. I mean, there's only one Cher.
Right.
But there's two Madonnas. Sorry, Madonna. But so anyway, so Eddie is a friend of mine, and he is obsessed with Oprah. And so once I was invited to a party where Oprah was being honored and getting an award, so I took Eddie as my date. And he was so super excited, and he said, I really want to get a photo with Oprah. And I was like, Eddie, I'm not going to guarantee that will happen. And I am not going to go and humiliate myself by asking Oprah for a photo for you. And as I said to him, you know what it's like when you get really pissed off when we're having dinner or having a drink and people come over and ask me for a photo and do all that? You know how that pisses you off? And he goes, yes, I see what you mean. But I still want a photo of her. So it's a long, long story, but it came to pass that Oprah, in the middle of there was a gap in the awards night, and she stood up, and I was trying to zoom in to get a picture of her with Eddie in the foreground. She was like way, way far away. But I realized she was coming towards us because she was going to the loo, and we were sat next to the loo. And so I was like, Eddie, she's coming this way, she's coming. And I was trying to unzoom my camera, and I'm looking through the thing, and I hear Eddie going, like a little choir boy, going, Oprah, could I have a picture with you? It would be my dream. And I hear Oprah go, you gotta get bigger dreams. Hence the title of my new book. But I have to say, I think that's what I really admire about that moment and everything about Oprah, actually. But that even in the midst of what must be the most annoying thing she has to deal with who knows how many times a day, unless she hides in her swanky estate in Santa Barbara. But she has to deal with that so much. But yet, even in that moment, she was able to kind of impart some wisdom. Because she was right. Eddie did need to get bigger dreams. And by her stopping and having a photo, he was able to get bigger dreams, because now that's not his dream anymore, because it actually happened.
And the photo, which you might call one of your bad photos.
Yes, technically bad, but a beautiful capturing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And luckily, you have put it across 2 pages.
Double page,
full color in that book. And
actually, Eddie gets 2 double pages. He gets a picture with Kylie as well as a double page.
Yes, Kylie Minogue.
There is only one Kylie.
And there are also stories about Elizabeth Taylor. And various other, Sylvester Stallone.
Sly.
We could drop names all over the stage, but it's time for us to take some questions from the audience.
Hi, Alan.
Hello.
So I have a question for you.
Yes, go ahead.
For your previous book, Not My Father's Son, I'm wondering, delving into your history, your childhood, how did that impact you? What did you absorb, just digging deep into your past like that?
Well, it was very, very therapeutic, actually. It was a very great way to deal with not just traumatic experiences, but very public experiences, and to kind of make sense of them, and what I didn't really expect, but was ultimately the biggest and the most satisfying part of that whole experience of writing that whole book, was that how much it affected other people and gave them confidence to talk about, abuse in their family, or help them, come out to their parents, or there was so many people who wrote to me and I met when I was going around the world talking about it, that told me that it had affected them and for me, a really positive way, because it was dealing with stuff that I think needs to be dealt with and not hidden away. And that, I know that sounds perhaps a little trite, but I really hadn't expected that at all. And I was mostly just really worried how it was going to affect my mum and my brother, because obviously this book was as much about them as it was about me, but they're not used to dealing with public reaction the way I am. But even I was worried about it for myself too, but I was more concerned with them. And then all of a sudden, this wave of sort of positivity and the idea that in some way, telling my story was really, really helping a lot of other people to deal with their things. That was an amazing thing. And it put all my anxieties about the other things way, way into the shadows. So that was the best thing. Thank you.
I read that book when it first came out, and then just this past week, I listened to it on audiobook, which I highly recommend, because the way that, you're such a good actor, and you've got such range in your emotional voice, but also just hearing you do like the voices of the people in your life is so fantastic. And I know that this book is mostly photographs, but I'm hoping there's some way to do an audiobook.
Oh, I did an audiobook of it, actually, yeah. There's an audiobook.
Is it out yet?
I think it must come out today.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, this is
because
out.
I want it just for the story about Liza, because I'm dying to hear you do your Liza impression.
It's terrific. Yeah, no, I do, Liza. No, it's great, actually, that story. And I loved telling that story on the audiobook. But also you get like you download, when you download it, you get a PDF of some of the pictures.
Oh, great.
So you can look at the picture, even though it's an audiobook, on your phone or whatever, it'll have the pictures as well.
Oh, I'm glad we had a chance to promote that too.
Yay.
What do you hope is the message people take away from your new book?
I sort of think that this book is about me being able to stand outside my own life and comment on it and have fun with it. And I hope in a way it tells people that you can have this sort of Hollywoody celebrity life and still be able to see what a crazy experience it is and not get sucked into it and not think it's normal. And also have your feet on the ground as well as live in this sort of rarefied world. But also at the same time, there's just as many stories about that side of my life as there are about, traveling with my dog or things like that. And I think it's important to just always be able to stand back from whatever's happening to you. And almost to be an outsider in your own life is a really positive thing. So that's what I hope, that people understand that I don't take myself or my life too seriously, except when it's necessary.
We also need to acknowledge that you were a pioneer of a very popular art form.
Selfie, I think
Long
you'll find
before the selfie.
photographic evidence.
Was even a word.
I was doing it in the 80s, people. Thank you. I did. I was always like with my camera, it's harder to do when you can't see the thing. But it's so funny. When I was looking at all the photographs to go in the book, I even see it. I don't want to be that guy, but
You're totally that guy, and you deserve the credit, I think, as the inventor of the selfie. So thanks on behalf of all of us.
Thanks so much. You're welcome. It's my gift to you.
We've got time for one more question.
Hi, Alan.
Hello.
I wanted to know, in your career, all the characters that you've played, all the roles that you have had, which one is your most memorable one?
Do you mean memorable for the experience of doing it, or?
Yes.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I don't know.
You can't remember?
I can't remember. I was so drunk at the time. But I always think, actually, for me, what's important is the experience I'm having at the time, rather than how the thing turns out. So there's been great characters that I've played, like when I did Macbeth, that was an overwhelming experience, and it's not something I would choose to revisit, but it was an intense thing. But there's been other characters, like, that are sort of iconic in some way for people, and so they keep coming back to me, like in Spy Kids when I played Mr. Floop. There's a generation of people who come up to me and it's really affected their lives, their childhoods, and that's a really beautiful thing to have been a part of. When someone, a 25-year-old comes up with this magical childlike look on his or her face, that's really great. But I always think that actually it's more important that I have a great experience working with the people on the movie and having a nice time in my life than the actual end product. And so if I were to choose something, it wouldn't necessarily be because of the role, but the experience of making the film, the most fun I ever had on a film, and I don't think I'll ever be able to repeat it because it was just a snapshot, again, there's some pictures of it in the book, in time, was when I was in the Spice Girls movie. And I got to hang out with the Spice Girls at the height of their fame and be taught the moves to the Spice Girls dances by the Spice Girls themselves. I don't think it gets much better than that.
Most important question of the day, do you remember any of those moves, and will you demonstrate them for us right now?
This is one that Baby Spice taught me.
You want me to hold your microphone?
Yeah. Well, I have to do this. Yeah, read you, because I've got to...
Oh, yeah, get up.
It's a little rude. Not rude, it's a very good positive sex message. Be a little bit wiser, baby. Put it on, put it on. Because tonight is the night when to become one. Thank you.
And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you, Alan Cumming, for being here. Thanks to all of you. And hopefully we'll be seeing lots more from you in the future.
Hope so. Thanks, everybody. That was great.